In the dazzling golden age of Hollywood, Gregory Peck was seen as the very embodiment of integrity. A calm, composed gentleman seemingly untouched by the industry's temptations. Yet few knew that behind that serene exterior lived a very different Gregory Peck, a man deeply tormented by the chaos and hypocrisy lurking behind the cameras. In 1962, even as To Kill a Mockingbird launched him to the peak of fame, Peck found himself trapped in an industry that tested his sanity. One actor showed up on set with a suitcase full of alcohol and 3 live snakes. Another brought a real gun to test the authenticity of a scene, and a stray bullet nearly cost the assistant director his hearing. Peck became so enraged that he once stormed off set, shouting, "I signed a contract to make movies, not to fight in a war." So, who were the stars capable of pushing such a calm, disciplined man to the breaking point? And what exactly did they do to ignite Gregory Peck's fury? Join us as we uncover the 8 actors Peck considered the most dangerous forces of Hollywood's golden age and reveal the dark, hidden stories the industry tried to bury for decades. The first name Gregory Peck ever dared to reveal, the first shadow he pointed to in Hollywood's golden age, was Kirk Douglas. For nearly 20 years, the two men waged a silent war. Polite smiles on the red carpet, venom simmering just beneath the surface. Their rivalry wasn't loud, but it was sharp enough to split Hollywood in two. After Champion made Douglas a rising powerhouse, he developed a fierce hatred for everything Peck represented. He mocked him openly. Gregory just stands there and lets his morality do the acting. The quote spread like wildfire, igniting a feud that only grew darker with time. The conflict reached its most explosive moment in 1963 when Peck won the Oscar for To Kill a Mockingbird. As the audience rose to applaud, Douglas slouched in the back row, drink in hand, and muttered loudly enough for Peck to hear. If he were truly Atticus Finch, Hollywood wouldn't be drowning in hypocrisy. Peck turned around, gave Douglas a cold, distant glance, and said nothing. And somehow, that silence enraged Douglas more than any insult could. From that moment on, they became the two opposite poles of old Hollywood. Peck, controlled, principled, unshakable. Douglas, fiery, instinctive, hungry for validation. When Columbia Pictures invited both men to star in The Heroes of Telemark, Peck refused almost instantly. "I don't want to share the screen with a man who acts with his chin and is shouting." Douglas heard the comment and exploded. He branded Peck the hypocrite with a golden halo, insisting he was nothing more than a saint sculpted by studio publicists. There was no reconciliation after that, only a rivalry that grew heavier with the passing decades. Douglas chased raw, aggressive roles like Spartacus and Paths of Glory, while Peck remained Hollywood's moral compass. But beneath every jab and in every headline, the truth was far more tragic. They weren't just enemies, they were reflections of each other. One was instinct, the other intellect. One shouted the truth, the other carried it quietly. And then, age softened the bitterness neither would admit. After Douglas's stroke in 2001, he finally confessed through tears, "Greg was the man I resented, envied, and in the end, wished I could be." When Peck heard of Douglas's condition, he simply replied, "I don't hate him anymore. I just wish we had understood each other." Their story is more than a Hollywood rivalry. It's the tragedy of two men fighting for meaning in a world built on illusions, a world where emotions are rehearsed, pain is edited, and even suffering must look beautiful under the lights. And this is only the beginning. The first name on Gregory Peck's list of the 8 most dangerous forces hidden beneath the golden surface of old Hollywood. The second name Gregory Peck dared to reveal was Frank Sinatra, and the tension between them was nothing short of explosive. When they stood together on the set of Captain Newman, MD, it felt as if two storms were colliding. Peck with his quiet discipline and unwavering focus, and Sinatra with his unpredictable charm and dangerous recklessness. Every morning, Peck arrived before sunrise, fully prepared, while Sinatra drifted in just before noon, carrying the scent of whiskey in a silence so heavy the entire crew held its breath. No one dared correct him because in that era, Sinatra wasn't just a star, he was untouchable. Peck tried to stay calm, but the chaos followed Sinatra like a shadow. And the moment he disrupted an emotional scene by whistling and spitting on the floor, the pressure finally cracked. Peck stared at him in disbelief while Sinatra smirked and said, "Relax, St. Gregory, no one's dying here." A young assistant whispered that Peck looked like a priest, and Sinatra burst out laughing, raising his glass as he added, "A priest? Now he's St. Gregory, Hollywood's holy statue." The atmosphere grew sharper each day, and even their interviews became battlegrounds. Once asked about working with Peck, Sinatra shrugged and said, "Greg thinks discipline makes him better, but discipline doesn't make a soul." Peck responded in another interview with a calm smile. Frank believes chaos is emotion, but chaos is just noise with lighting. And years later, when tensions were at their peak, Sinatra fired back again, telling a reporter, "Greg wants silence on set because silence makes him feel safe, and safe men don't make history." Their final confrontation arrived on a day when Sinatra showed up 3 hours late, swaying from the night before. The director begged for focus, but Sinatra barked back, claiming he didn't need direction because he had sung for thousands in Caesar's palace. Peck finally placed his script on the table and spoke in a low, steady voice that echoed through the room. "This isn't a nightclub, Frank. We're making a movie." Sinatra stepped closer with a crooked smile and snapped, "Then go make your movie without me." The entire set froze as the two men stared each other down. Professionalism against ego, discipline against chaos. One man trying to hold the film together and the other daring anyone to stop him. Peck finished his role, but never looked Sinatra in the eyes again. And long after the film wrapped, he refused to attend any event where Sinatra appeared. Ironically, all that tension, all that bitterness burned into their performances, creating a raw energy critics couldn't ignore. But Sinatra was only the second name on Gregory Peck's list, and the shadows of old Hollywood were about to grow even darker. The third name Gregory Peck revealed was Marlon Brando. And from the moment he stepped onto the set of the Missouri Breaks, the entire production felt like it was slipping toward madness. Peck had been promised that Brando had changed and that the wildness of his past was behind him. Yet, when the cast arrived in Montana, they found a man who carried a suitcase full of liquor, 3 snakes, and a tiny toy piano he called his emotional energy machine. Every morning, Brando sat alone playing strange notes and whispering that he would act in the color blue today, while Peck watched in disbelief, trying to hold on to his composure as chaos circled him like a storm. Their worlds could not have been more different. Peck arrived precisely at 7 every morning, script in hand, ready to work. Brando wandered in hours later wearing a wool beanie pulled over his eyes and carrying a live pigeon as if it were part of his character's soul. In front of the stunned crew, he declared that the pigeon would act with him because audiences need to feel the freedom of a spirit unchained. When cameras rolled, he ignored the script, releasing the bird into the sky while Peck stood frozen, holding his useless lines, wondering how he was supposed to work beside such unpredictability. The tension grew heavier each day. Brando began whispering his dialogue so softly the microphones couldn't capture a single word. Peck finally turned to director Arthur Penn and admitted with a trembling voice that he needed a psychiatrist because the chaos was breaking him. Penn tried to confront Brando, telling him, "This is a movie, Marlon, not an exorcism. Gregory can't keep up with this." But Brando only laughed, lighting a cigarette and murmuring just loudly enough for Peck to hear, "Then let him try to feel something." Even away from the set, the distance between them felt impossible. At night, they sat on opposite ends of the hotel bar, never speaking, yet locked in a silent war. Brando laughed loudly, spilling wine, while Peck stared into his whiskey, unmoving and cold. And when the press finally asked them about each other, their answers only deepened the rift. Brando smirked in one interview and said, "Greg works like a machine, polished and perfect, but machines can't feel." Peck responded later with a quiet edge, "Marlon believes instinct is genius, but instinct without discipline is only chaos." Years after filming, Brando added another spark, telling a reporter, "Greg tries to control everything around him because he can't control who he is." When Brando died, a journalist asked Peck if he regretted anything about their turbulent time together. Peck paused as if weighing decades of silence, then said quietly, "No, he earned what he became." Brando was gone, but the storm he left behind still echoed in Peck's memory, and he believed nothing on a film set could ever shake him again until he met the next name on his list. The fourth name Gregory Peck revealed was Montgomery Clift, the quiet phantom who made Peck question not just his craft, but his place in Hollywood itself. There was something unreal about Clift every time he walked into a room, a softness that carried storm clouds, a silence that pulled attention without asking for it. Peck never admitted it out loud, yet the people closest to him knew. He felt a strange ache whenever Clift's name appeared in the trades. Clift wasn't a rival in the usual sense. He was a reminder that Hollywood was changing and that the world might no longer belong to men carved from stone. When Clift auditioned for the Guns of Navarone, the session lasted barely 20 minutes, but it shook everyone who witnessed it. He spoke softly, almost too softly, his eyes full of a sorrow that felt raw and unfiltered. When he finished, the room stayed quiet as if no one dared breathe. Director Carl Foreman whispered, "He's not acting, he's bleeding." And when that whisper reached Peck, he didn't respond, but the tightening of his jaw told a story of its own. A new kind of leading man had arrived, and he was nothing like Gregory Peck. The realization followed Peck everywhere. One evening, he called his agent, speaking in a low, tense voice. "They're falling for a different kind of hero." After a pause, he asked the question that haunted him for years. What if my time is ending? In interviews, Clift never attacked Peck directly, but when asked about traditional Hollywood masculinity, he smiled gently and said, "Strength is easy. Letting people see you break is harder." The comment spread quickly, and although it wasn't aimed at him, Peck felt the sting. Driven by fear, fascination, and something deeper than either, he went to watch Clift's test screening. The moment Clift appeared, Peck felt as if the room tilted. There was no armor, no theatrical flourish. Every look carried wounded truth. Every breath felt like a confession. A colleague nudged him afterward, asking what he thought. Peck stared ahead and murmured, "He acts with the parts of a man we're trained to hide." That night, Peck couldn't shake the image from his mind and took the reel home to watch alone. His face flickered in the projector's silver glow, and for the first time, he saw not competition, but the end of an era, the slow fading of the iron-jawed hero. Later, in an interview, someone asked him about Clift. Peck smiled faintly and said, "Monty is the kind of actor who makes the rest of us look like we're posing." And Clift, when asked to describe Peck, replied with that soft, broken voice of his, "Greg is the mountain. I'm just the wind trying to move it." Clift's presence lingered in Peck's mind like a ghost, a reminder that Hollywood rewards the fragile as easily as the strong, and that the camera loves truth, even when that truth trembles. Peck believed he had finally made peace with it, his era fading, Clift's rising. But Hollywood wasn't finished with him yet. Another storm was waiting, one from his own generation, a man who would not haunt him like Clift, but challenge him directly like a mirror turning into a rival. John Wayne, ranked 5th on Gregory Peck's list of people he could not stand, was the other half of America's divided soul, a living symbol of rugged patriotism, standing in total opposition to Peck, who championed peace and civil rights. They hated each other so deeply that every encounter was a battle waiting to happen, a clash of beliefs and pride. In a 1972 interview, Wayne sneered about Peck, "Gregory always acts so morally superior. I can't stand that kind of weakness." And Peck responded on a different talk show, his voice icy. "John embodies blind aggression. I cannot believe people worship what he represents." Their simmering animosity reached a boiling point at a Hollywood party in 1971 when Wayne, clad in a leather shirt, stood before a crowd of producers and actors, raised his glass, and growled, "If America were full of men like Gregory Peck, we'd have lost before the first shot was fired." Laughter rippled briefly before fading. Peck, seated at a distant table, rose calmly and replied, "And if America were full of men like you, we'd never know what peace is." From that night on, their feud went public, both refusing to attend any event where the other might appear. When the American Film Institute invited them to participate in a panel on heroes in American cinema, Peck flatly declined, saying, "I don't want to share a stage with him." Fate, however, was not done with them. In 1970, Universal Studios proposed a sequel to True Grit with Wayne and Peck as co-stars. The contract was nearly finalized until Wayne saw Peck's name, slammed the script on the table, and roared, "I won't act with that America hater." Peck's response was equally cold and firm, "I will not back down to him." Two legends, two opposing visions of America, forever divided by pride, conviction, and ideals they refused to compromise. In another interview, Peck admitted to a reporter, "I'd rather die than sit next to him." While Wayne, in a separate interview, said, his voice heavy, "Gregory always thinks he's better than the rest of us. I can't forgive that arrogance." As the years went by, the divide only deepened. Wayne became increasingly active in far-right political movements, while Peck appeared before Congress advocating peace and civil rights. For 2 decades, they refused even the smallest gesture of civility. Whenever they crossed paths at the Academy Awards, Wayne would turn his face away, while Peck would straighten his tie and walk past in silence, a subtle yet unmistakable act of contempt. In Wayne's final years, as he battled cancer, a reporter asked Peck if he planned to visit him. Peck paused, expression unreadable, and replied, "I pray for his soul, but I still can't bear to look at his face." When John Wayne died in 1979, Hollywood lowered its flags to half-mast. Hundreds of stars sent flowers. Tributes poured in from around the world. But Peck did not attend the funeral. sending only a single letter to the Wayne family with 2 words: "My condolences." 2 men, 2 legends, 2 extremes of America, locked in a decades-long clash. And even after Wayne's death, the story of their hatred, opposing beliefs, and biting remarks continued to ripple through Hollywood, leaving audiences captivated and endlessly curious